What is the potential responses necessary? Former Ambassador to South Korea Chris Hill joins me now. Ambassador, we've been around on all of this stuff. I think everybody's familiar with the challenges of North Korea and of the various sort of bad options that we have. But this was an escalation. This was an escalation after a U.S. warning. Now what?
Well, this indeed was an escalation. I mean, we noticed we got the scripted President Trump, where it was a released statement, and he said things that, frankly, President Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton have all said that this will increase their isolation, et cetera, et cetera. But the real question, what are we going to do about this? I mean, by flying this missile right over Japan, this is obviously a test not only of the flight path of the missile, but of the U.S.-Japan resolve. And one of the big questions, of course, is if they thought it was better to fly over Japan than Guam, are they basically saying that the U.S. would react more vigorously to a flyby of Guam than of Japan? So I think the president really needs some reassuring to give to the Japanese. But I think the basic calculation remains the same. It is very hard to launch any kind of preemptive strike without the South Korean government being a part of it and without essentially putting 20 million South Koreans in bomb shelters.
And now, so basically, Steve Bannon was right when he, in the last days of his, when he wrote, where he said in an interview with the American Prospect, until somebody solves the part of the equation that shows me that 10 million people in Seoul don't die in the first 30 minutes from conventional weapons, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no military solution here. They got us. Should he have been that? I mean, is he right?
Well, you know, he's got a point. Does he have to say that? I think he kind of lives his life with the idea he has to say things that are not helpful and not well received. And so there you have it. I think, in fact, we do have some options. I think it has to do with trying to sabotage their program. I think it has to do with a real deep dive with the Chinese, and not this kind of notion that, gee, if you take care of this, we'll help you out on our bilateral trade account. I think it requires a, you know, kind of close in relationship with the South Koreans, a lot more of this anti-ballistic missile system. But really, frankly, we've got to be doing things to show the North Koreans that we can come after them and come after them big time. And ironically, it was the South Koreans who just did that with bunker-busting bombs that were, frankly, right on target.
Yeah, I was. Explain to me, though, it was interesting that the South Koreans, because they have been more dovish, they have not been happy with the rhetoric, the new leadership. And it was, I guess, a bit surprising because it came from the new leadership. But they did bomb their own part of the terror. It was an interesting way to show force. Explain that a little bit.
Well, I mean, they were demonstrating a capacity to use their F-15s. That's a highly capable U.S.-made aircraft, and using these 2,000-pound bombs that are able to go into cement. And I mean, one of the big challenges any military person will talk about in North Korea is that they have deep tunnels. I mean, you can't even go into the subway system in Pyongyang, as I've done, without a sense that you're going kind of 3 times deeper than DuPont Circle. So they are very serious about digging. And so we need to show that we are serious about going deep after them. And I think, you know, I think the South Korean military has really wanted to show the North Koreans for a long time. They have this government that is not inclined in that direction. But frankly, I think the North Koreans are ironically kind of unifying everybody, and everyone is kind of getting sick and tired of them. So let's see how this plays out. And I just hope our president can refrain from sounding like a North Korean, in which case you create all kinds of problems, as he did a couple of weeks ago, which is why our poor Secretary of State had to get up there and talk about, gee, I think now's the time for negotiation with North Korea, when frankly it wasn't, but he had to reassure audiences in Asia that we keep the door open to negotiation.
What is, I understand there could be some logistical downside, but I know that it has been debated about one way to show the North Koreans business is to shoot down one of their missiles when they test it. And I know it gets debated every now and then. And the decision always is, nah, better not to get involved, better not to do it. Is there a moment where that becomes, no, let's show them how good our technology really is to prove to them this is a waste of their time?
Well, obviously, if we did it and it didn't work, that would be a huge moment. So I think that weighs on people's minds. But, if we did it and it worked and we didn't think the North Koreans were going to learn a lot from our test where they would monitor our anti-ballistic missile, I think it's kind of time the North Koreans understood that we can play this game too. So it may be one of those bad ideas whose time has come, but I would certainly want to make sure. I would certainly want to make sure it works.
And in fairness, when I've talked to some, it is in their list of, well, here are the various bad options we have, and this is one of them, and you're not the first person that goes, well, maybe now is the time.
Yeah. I mean, they think they can just put these things up in the air whenever they feel like it, whether it's an anniversary date or a Mother's Day resolution, whatever. There's, in a sense, they're having fun. In another sense, it's a deadly serious thing that they're trying to do, which is try to kind of decouple the U.S. from our allies there by showing everybody that they can hit these allies at a moment's notice. And by the way, if the U.S. were to retaliate, they'd hit us too. So they have a pretty serious approach to this, and I think we may have to step up our game. I really think we have to have a much more serious discussion with China besides the idea, Jay, you help us out there and we'll help you out here and that kind of thing.
All right. Ambassador Chris Hill, former ambassador to South Korea, as always, appreciate you coming on. Talking about this never-ending crisis, it feels like these days. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.